Hello everybody, my name's Anna and this is Megan. As Sam said, we are the two online learning and education consultants at Schoolbox. This is a new presentation to our meetup and it's one that we are really excited about. Over the last 2 days we've heard a lot from lots of our different schools and from some of our Schoolbox team, and we've heard a lot of great things about what everybody's doing. But as educators, sometimes we forget to think about what the students are actually thinking. And so that's why Megan and I are so excited about presenting this session called All About the Student, which is where we consider the perspective of some of our students. So over the last few weeks, Megan and I have had the great opportunity to go around and visit 3 of our schools, Cairo Christian College, the Peninsula School, and Penola Catholic College. And we were able to have a chat to some of their students and hear a little bit about how they're using Schoolbox and how it helps them on their individual learning journey. And we've prepared a video for you. Before I show you the video, I do want to highlight one thing though. We didn't tell the students what to say, okay? When we went to the school, one of the students didn't even know that he was doing the presentation until we turned up at the office. And we were just as shocked and incredibly impressed at what they had to say, and also at how relevant it was to our theme of I am an individual, which we didn't tell them about. So here's what they said. While we're waiting for that video,
someone said it.
you could do the second.
Good. Where do you want me to skip forward to? Oh. Leave it. Thanks everyone.
I'm a visual learner. I usually have to see something to really get it in my head. Writing as well. The way I study is I really repeat stuff and write it out, make myself a quiz, acronyms, stuff like that.
I'm definitely a hands-on learner, particularly with science, so you can do an experiment and see how something actually works in real life, because then it gives the content context, which I think is really important because it makes it more tangible and easier to understand with real-life examples.
I'm very much an individual learner. When I work in groups, I tend to get a little bit sidetracked, and also I'm a very social as a person. So as soon as I do group work, it's a little bit more social than it is work.
I like to learn in groups is probably a preference. Bouncing ideas off each other.
Well, I'm a big kinesthetic learner, hence why I wanted to go into the performing arts department.
So I like to learn in lots of ways. I don't particularly mind. I like hearing things, I can write things, read things. I do like doing things with my hands, so if I can actually do something, that also helps me learn.
I think if they mix up their learning style a bit, not just go straight from the textbook, they show you some videos, we do some practice stuff like applying the real stuff from the textbook to the real world. Just really mixing it up a bit.
If they really kind of take the time and see that you're struggling and ask you to like hang back, and they can kind of help you.
A good teacher would be able to definitely articulate what their content, so they have to be knowledgeable, they have to be able to articulate that, and they have to know what each individual needs.
A teacher that actually listens and also tries to know more about you outside of class as well, so they know how to teach you and know what kind of person you are, because every student is different and every student learns a different way.
So I definitely like it when teachers sort of personalise learning. So when they give you extension stuff and when they try help you to learn in ways that you enjoy learning and the way you learn things best.
I think going off the way I learn, what makes a good teacher is someone who can make content relatable and apply it to real life. And I think that makes learning more accessible.
So we've decided to brand our Schoolbox, and we've called it LINK, which stands for Learning and Information Network at Cairo, and our aim is to have it used for the learning and for information. So we want it as our primary learning shop, I guess, and our primary information one-stop shop. And so we've created it, we've personalised it in that sort of sense for our school. We've also got our, as you can see behind me, Lincoln, and he is going to be our link helper.
I think it's unique because we have catered it to the needs of our students and our parents, and we try and have as much information on them so students and parents are well informed of their child's learning needs and how they can best assist them as well.
It involves our parents being involved in their child's learning. They can see the learning, it's really visible for them, they can track their child's work, they can have conversations and really quality conversations around the learning that their child is doing.
The thing I like most about Zenith is the sharing of it. So you can have full-on discussions on Zenith, you can create polls or just look at different links. So I think that it's really interactive and it's conducive to collaborative learning, which I think is really handy when you're someone that likes something hands-on. You can interact with people, and that's a really good way of learning.
Teachers can post like dates of when tests or SACs are on, so we can kind of keep those in mind instead of like handwriting those in our diary.
Link is a great way to just access things really easily. It's really well laid out. It's all sort of there for you. You don't have to sort of search around for ages. You can just find it. You've got your grades on there. You've got your tasks, your assignments, your homework. So even if you forget your homework at school, you can go home, get it off Link, print it out, and so you can still hand it in and not get in trouble.
Well, it means I can sort of get ahead on, or if I miss something, I can go back to it. And if I want to get ahead, if I have extra time, I can get ahead on new content.
The convenience of it, you can easily just go on Link and see what you're doing, what's prepared for the class. Your teacher can organise exactly what they want you to do. If your teacher is away, then they can easily put up some stuff for you to do on Link, so the substitute doesn't have to stress out too much. It's just, and you can access everything at home as well. It's just so easy.
The really good thing about Zenith and making things relatable is that you can put up links, videos, you can have social stream for chats and that kind of thing, so you can see articles on the newest discovery in space, or you can see the latest case, the decision, you know what I mean? So it kind of expands your resources.
On the pages it has every single last document that we've been working through class. So if you've missed a class or if you're away on an excursion or doing co-curricular activities, then you can access it at home and still be able to do the same work as the rest of the students that were in class.
There we go. There's the Senior Sci-Fi Club page. So what we do on the Sci-Fi Club page is we talk about like coming up conventions, movie nights and whatnot.
Alright, so this is our English page. So up here we have sort of some of our assignments. So this one's our spelling word. So each week we have to do a test and get these words that we do spelling buddy tests. This one's our media assignment. So at the moment we're looking at newspapers and television ads and things like that, and looking at the persuasive techniques and things that they use. So on here, there's sort of the projects and assignments that we're doing, but there's also one of these which is an extracurricular one that I'm doing, which has a larger word count and things like that, so it extends me a bit more. It's also got like the curriculum link, so the things that it actually says we have to cover in the curriculum, so we know the sort of things that are expected from us.
So this is my link page for my Year 12 subject, so the important one. What I like about it is that as soon as you click on it, it's colourful and everyone loves colour, but my favourite part is the organisation of it. So you have each week, week 5, week 6, you can just click on it and you know exactly what's up. What I really like about it is that it's all set out, you don't miss anything, you know exactly what's going on.
As you can see here, we've got a social stream going. So we've all loaded different files that we've then talked about in class. So here we've got sources because it's history. So we then have a discussion and analyse those different sources. But it means that everyone can contribute to the class and to the discussion, which is really helpful. Oh, and all the links you need. And then here we've got a poll as well. So if you need to organise something, you can do it on the page rather than having to do a hands up for this or hands up for that. So it's much more convenient. So this is about a free dress day.
What I like most is that my co-curricular groups are not just something based off on all the students, they're all personalised for me and the things that I do inside the school. So when you can see that my groups are all very much theatre and drama, music based, because that's what I'm very much involved in the college.
My favourite feature is definitely the calendar. So it's got everything from sport, academics, even all the things I'll be doing after school.
If, like me, you like to do things very thoroughly, you can go home and rewatch the video and like take notes on it or pause it and play it again, so you can do it at your speed and not just at the class's speed. So that's what I really like about it.
So it definitely helps me with like projects and stuff, because I can go on, look at the teacher's comments about my project, so things that I need to work on, things that I need to do better, and so I can work on that for the next project or assignment that I have to do.
Checking grades is really simple. Click on grades, you can see exactly how you're going, exactly what's expected of you.
My portal helps me just in the fact that I can keep up to date also with my teachers and have conversations with them through the feed that we have, so that I can get immediate responses from my teachers and about even our assessment task due dates and our SAC dates and everything like that. So that's what helps me, just so I can keep it organised.
Teachers can put a task on link for just you to do, so they can put it on just your page, so the whole class doesn't have to see it. So they can extend just you and give you the things that you need to learn. It doesn't necessarily have to be extension too, so if you're behind a little bit, they can give you things that maybe the other class is doing that's ahead of you, but you can do a bit more basic.
Zenith is like my personal PA. It keeps everything all in the one spot. It's all organised. I've got when things are due, what's coming up, what I need to look back on. So I think it's just everything in the one spot, so it's kind of a one-stop place for all of my learning, which is really handy.
Especially my maths teacher, he's extremely punctual with due dates and videos and stuff to help the students, especially because a lot of people do struggle with certain topics.
If they know that you're struggling with a particular concept, they will maybe give you extra time, setting aside time, but specifically to your learning style, maybe assigning you specific work, or maybe assigning you a different type of work if you're ahead, or that sort of thing.
I think having the unit outline, the course outline, has been really good, because it means that students are able to keep track of what they're doing in class. It also means that we've linked in all the e-books and e-resources into one platform, and we provide students with as many different resources that best suit individual learning needs, so they can choose what they best want to use to help them in their learning program.
So in terms of personalising learning, I think the key thing for me is meeting students where they're at and understanding where they're at. And so the one thing I love about Schoolbox, it's such an organic application. So depending on where the students are, you can modify the learning tasks or modify the things that they want instantly and then push that out to class pages. So I think what is great about this system is that you can work with students and understand where they're at and what they need, and then you can personalise the learning on the back end in Schoolbox to really individualise the learning for each of the students. And the fact that they can see pretty much everything that they need to do, and as our awesome students just spoke about, you can start somewhere and you can keep tracking and going, and you can manipulate the learning as you see fit. So I think it has to be interactive and really engaging. There's lots of video and rich media that you can place into your pages and make it exciting for students. And so I think the key part for me is really having all the things that they need to do visible, but also the students are really the curators of the learning and they can push their learning back into Schoolbox, which is a good thing too.
So I teach Year 12 Business Management, and when I differentiate, I use Link to put on additional resources for my students that need different things. So we put up, I use PowerPoints in class, but I put summaries of the PowerPoints onto Link for those students that need that extra time using the PowerPoints. I actually put the PowerPoints on there as well. I also make sure that there's something visual for my kids to watch as well, so that they can go back and re-watch what they're doing. So I use that for differentiation. We've also been encouraging teachers though to create groups under their classes and deliver work to groups of students who need that extra help or need to be extended further, so they get totally different work to the normal class.
That was fantastic. We had so much fun going out and to the schools and seeing how students were using it, and the teachers, and hearing how they were individualising their school boxes for their students. You can certainly see from the video that the kids really want to be in there, that they love it, and it's enriching their experience at school. So to finish off this presentation, Anna and I would like to give you 6 tips to help you individualise how you're using Schoolbox for your students at your schools and in your classrooms. But before I launch into the tips, I just want to make a distinction between personalised learning and differentiated learning. So personalised learning is about student direction and students being able to choose their learning journey, so what comes next. Differentiation is a bit more teacher-directed and about teachers directing work and directions for students. So in our tips, we'll hopefully look at both how you can personalise and differentiate learning. So the first one I want to have a look at is assessment options. There are many advantages to allowing your students to be assessed in different ways and letting them choose and personalise how they're being assessed. Of course, they can choose an option that suits their learning style. They feel like they're active participants in their own learning, and they have the opportunity to express themselves in their own ways. So in Schoolbox, it's really easy to add multiple assessment tasks. Simply add it to your course builder on your unit page, or multiple due work tasks on your course outlining on your class page. One thing that's important to consider with this is that we don't want students losing marks or not being able to being assessed on tasks that they didn't do. So it's important that when you get to the marking stage, that for the options that they didn't choose, you select a mark type that's a null mark type. So a null mark type is a mark that won't contribute to the student's overall grade, so they're not disadvantaged by that. If you're looking at me blankly, just ask an IT person at your school. They can set that up for you if it hasn't been already. So this is a great way for students to personalise their own learning.
Also, another note on that one, that the new projects in Schoolbox will make that a lot easier again. So the next one we're going to talk about is an example of teacher differentiated learning. Okay, so what you can do, and you heard a few students talking about this in the video, is you can create group pages underneath your class pages. And what you can do is you can add individual students to those pages or groups of students that are at a similar level. Give yourself admin permissions or write permissions, and give students, and maybe even their parents, read access. You might also want to consider setting it to restricted if you don't want other students and parents to see what's in there. Then what you can do is you can import a course, okay, and you can add new tasks, quizzes, or due work that is specific to those students, or just make alterations to the ones that you have there. This will really help you to cater for the needs of those individual students. It gives students access to information that can be relevant to them and also at their level. Another great way that you can use this is to use it for collaborative space and collaborative projects that you have students working on. So instead of just giving them read access, you can have a group of students in there and give them all write access and let them use that space to work collaboratively on projects.
Another great space for students to customise over time is the e-portfolios. E-portfolios are very versatile in their use. This is a space where students have write access, and so they can personalise, control the content and control who's seeing the space. So it's a great space for students to build over time. They could use them for goals and reflections and showcasing work, and it can be certainly amazing to look back for students and teachers and parents to see how the students progressed over time.
Okay, the other one that you can do, which you saw that Panola is doing really, really well, especially Josh, who was really engaged in the senior sci-fi club. So what you can do is you can set up all of your extracurricular pages in Schoolbox. This helps to personalise a student's learning journey, and it also helps look at educating the whole student. So rather than just the focus in Schoolbox being on educating them academically, it can be more about educating them in general. So having those extracurricular groups set up to be free to join allows students to browse around and see all of the different opportunities that they can be a part of in the school, and then allow them to join and leave at any time.
The continuous reporting capabilities and functionality in Schoolbox are fantastic to help you individualise your feedback for your students. We really recommend when building this area that quality rubrics are key, and this functionality allows you to provide more targeted feedback to your students. So it's a great idea to encourage your students to reflect after each assessment task and use this to improve in future. We recommend that you do this often. The more often you report and the more often you give them feedback, the more they can, and more frequently they can reflect and improve. But saying that, don't sacrifice quality for quantity.
Okay, the last one that we want to talk about is the flipped instruction. So often we hear flipped classroom or flipped instruction, which are two different methods, thrown around. And what that means, in a nutshell, is basically changing from a teacher-centric class to a student-centric class. So any great class has 3 stages. The knowledge transfer stage, where the teacher transfers the knowledge to the students. The processing stage, where students have time to take in that information and really understand it. And the assessing stage, where they show that they've understood that information. So the theory behind any of the flipped methods is that the knowledge transfer should be at the student's own pace, hence the student-centric comment. So rather than a teacher standing at the front of the class and using that time to input the knowledge at one pace, using Schoolbox to set up courses with units and using tasks can really help you flip that instruction and allow students to self-pace and self-differentiate. Okay. So we really loved catching up with these students, and as I said at the start of the presentation, we were amazed at some of the things that the students had to say, but we'd also love to hear some of your thoughts about this. So these are our tips on how you can personalise learning in Schoolbox, but we'd love to hear from you. So we've set up a post, a forum in our questions area under best practice questions, and we'd love for you to answer in there and tell us about what approaches you're using to personalise your learning. Thank you.